Japan is headed toward a massive shift in transportation as it gears up to launch commercial flying car services by 2027. These electric vertical takeoff vehicles will first carry passengers on short trips over cities, eventually expanding to connect airports with urban areas. Right now, this technology is going through the works with regulatory approvals and some super strict safety certifications. If Japan pulls this off, they will be among the first countries to turn flying cars into a legit public transit system, putting them at the absolute forefront of the global mobility revolution. Japan is planning to kick off its very first commercial flying car flights in 2027, starting with short trips designed for sightseeing across major cities like Tokyo and Osaka. For instance, visitors will be able to book a quick flight right over the city towers and famous gardens, giving them a totally fresh perspective that they have never seen before. After the first phase takes off, the service is going to expand to include routes connecting airports with crowded urban spots, so passengers can get from Narita Airport to central Tokyo in less than 20 minutes. That is a massive time saver compared to a full hour in a regular car, which is going to help cut down on traffic congestion in a big way. These planes are electric vertical takeoff vehicles, so they run on batteries and silent electric motors instead of those massive internal combustion engines. Plus, they are designed to carry just a small number of passengers, anywhere from 2 to 5 people, which basically makes them feel like high-end air taxis. Compared to traditional helicopters, electric flying cars are noticeably quieter, with motors that sound more like a large electric fan that won't bother people living in the city. This silent integration means they can operate in residential areas without any of the noise complaints that have followed helicopters around for decades. Regulatory approvals and necessary safety certifications are currently underway, as the Japanese Space Agency teams up with the Ministry of Transport to set the civil aviation rules for these new vehicles. For instance, every aircraft has to pass super strict safety tests that include flying in bad weather and dealing with a loss of communication with the control tower. These tests are essential before full commercial deployment, as thousands of hours of virtual flight mimic emergency scenarios like an engine failure or an emergency landing. Plus, pilots are being trained on advanced simulators that replicate every real flight condition to ensure they can respond quickly in any unexpected situation. If this is successfully pulled off, this service could be the first real transformation of flying cars into fully integrated public transit systems, as Japan plans to link them up with smartphone apps so you can hail a ride just like a taxi. If this model works out, other cities around the world like New York, London, and Shanghai could totally follow suit within a decade. Japan is putting itself right at the front of this global shift, with companies like SkyDrive and Toyota dropping billions of dollars to develop this tech locally. This early investment gives Japan a massive head start on patents and operational expertise, which is going to make them the main source for exporting this technology to other countries later on. Japan is also working on setting up dedicated ground charging stations for these vehicles, where batteries are kept at takeoff and landing pads to be swapped out for fully charged ones in less than 5 minutes. This fast process is a lot like swapping out batteries on electric bikes, which lets the planes run back-to-back flights without any long stops for charging. To solve the problem of crowded skies, Japan is developing an automated air traffic control system for these vehicles, where each aircraft communicates with the others and with ground control centers via a dedicated internet network. For example, if 2 planes get too close to each other, the automated system automatically decides to change the altitude of one of them to avoid any collision, without the need for human intervention. The cost of the trip is expected to drop significantly as more planes are produced, with experts estimating that the ticket price could get close to the cost of a luxury taxi after 5 years of operation. This decrease will make the service accessible to a much wider slice of society, not just for the wealthy or tourists. Flying cars are also going to totally transform emergency services and ambulances, since they can whisk injured people from remote accident sites to hospitals in just a few minutes. Traditional helicopters used to handle this, but they were super loud and really expensive, whereas these electric aircraft will do the job quietly and at a much lower cost, which means we can have a way bigger fleet of emergency vehicles in the air. These aircraft are equipped with semi-autonomous flight systems, where the pilot only jumps in when absolutely necessary while the computer handles most of the takeoff, cruising, and landing. This design really cuts down on human error, which causes a huge chunk of aviation accidents, and it boosts reliability in a major way. Finally, if everything goes according to plan, 2027 will mark the very first regulated commercial flight in the history of flying cars, as Japan steadily climbs toward the future of urban transportation. This achievement is going to open the door to a whole new era of fast and clean mobility. turning the science fiction we read about in the 1950s into a reality that we live every single day.